Okay, I'm going to run through exercise 7.06 that was on the subject variance and standard deviation from the topic statistics. There are 7 questions in the set. I'm going to take you through how to do some of those questions if you've been having trouble. Go to question 1. It says for each set of data find the mean and the standard deviation. I'll just quickly do the first one. If you've never, I hope by now you've established how to use or how to calculate the mean and the standard deviation on your Casio calculator. You need to put your Casio calculator into stats mode. To do that, you go mode and you choose option 2. And we always, in this course, we're going to choose option 1 for mean and standard deviation. Now you should get a frequency table here with X as the header, and we're going to enter the scores in. I'm just going to do the first one, the number of minutes kept on hold for the phone. You don't have to put the numbers in order. The calculator will do all that for you. So I'm just going to go quickly through and type 749, etc. I'm going to use the keyboard to do that. And just make sure on your calculator you hit the equals sign after each data entry. Okay, I've got all my data in, the 9 bits of data. Once you've got that in, you hit the AC button. That table disappears. To get the mean, we go Shift 1. Now we're going to choose option 4, that VAR, variance. Remember that was the same as option 1 we chose to get into stats mode. Option 2 is the mean, X with the hat on top. And make sure we hit equals, and we get 5.4. For the standard deviation, that's going to be Shift 1, 4, 3. And we get 2.1. Okay, so you need to practice that so that is automatic. That should take you 2 seconds really to get into your stats mode, enter your data and get those 2 bits of information. I'll quickly now, just because it'll come into play later on, once you've got your standard deviation, to get your variance, how easy is this? All you have to do is square the standard deviation. Or if you have the variance, all you have to do to get the standard deviation is square root the answer. Okay? Variance and standard deviation are related. You know, the variance is the square of the standard deviation. On to question number 2. Find the standard deviation and the variance of each of these. I think it's been made pretty clear. I'll quickly do the first one. Let's say we've just entered some data into our calculator. If you want to clear that, probably the safest way to clear your calculator before you do another question is if you hit mode, go back into option 1, your computational mode, and then just go back into stats mode, and that should clear your calculator. And again, notice that option 1 has that VAR, the variance mode. Again, doesn't matter if the data is in order. Quickly type this in, 51. Okay, all that data's in. Hit my AC button. Okay, the standard deviation, that's going to be Shift 1, 4, and option 3. And we get 7.2 as our standard deviation. The variance, we're just going to square that number, and 52.1 would be the variance. I'll let you have practice with a couple of those others. It's pretty straightforward stuff. I hope you will agree. Question 3. For each of these sets of data, there are 4 parts to this. I've just uploaded part A. We're going to find the mean, the standard deviation, and the variance. Okay, so in this case here, we've got a frequency table with the scores, which are in this case are books, and the frequencies, how often those books have been read. So we've got 2 columns here. We need to go in and make sure that our frequency column on the calculator has 2 columns as well. If you don't know how to do that, you need to go into setup mode. Hit Shift, hit setup. We need to choose an option that's not on this screen. We go down, hit your down button, and option 3 there, stats. turn frequency on or off. We want to turn it on. So now if we go into our stats mode, you'll notice we've got 2 columns there. Best way to do this, if you haven't already, is to enter all your or all your scores in first, and then go back up and enter all your frequencies in second. See how quickly we can do this. Okay, 12. Once we're at the bottom, easiest way to get to the top, I reckon, is just to hit down, and it'll take you straight back to the top. Go across and make sure you put in all the correct frequencies. Okay, everything's in there. Same procedure as before. Hit your AC button. Shift 142 gives us the average. Before I hit equals, I'm going to guess, because yeah, it's going to be somewhere in the middle here, but it looks maybe about 7.9 maybe. Let's have a look. 8.4, way off. Okay, but it's in the middle. Standard deviation, shift 143, 2.4. And the variance, all we do is square that number, 5.8. Pretty straightforward stuff. This is all just calculator stuff in this course, guys. Make sure that you're a master at doing the mean, the standard deviation, entering your data into tables, and you should be fine with your stats. On to question 4. In a taste test, people surveyed had to rank a new biscuit on a scale of 1 to 5. The table shows the results. Doesn't really tell us which is the best, which is the lowest. Who cares? For this one here, what is the range? Okay, so the definition of range, is highest take away lowest. So obviously it's the highest score, take away the lowest score. 5 take away 1 equals 4. That is the range. The interquartile range. So interquartile range, I'm going to shorten that to IQR, is equal to Q3, the third quartile, minus the first quartile. In order to do that, we need to break our data down into quarters. And with a frequency table, this can be challenging if you've never done it before. First thing we have to do is work out how many people took this survey. 5, 11, 16, 34, 55, 64. I hope I got that right. 64 people. So what that means, imagine we had 64 people in a line. What would be halfway? Halfway would be 32. And so that would be essentially our median, or what's called Q2. And if we broke both of those in half again, because remember with quartiles we're breaking things into quarters, the 16th score would be Q1, and up here if we add 16 to this, 48 would be Q3. So what we're looking at is we're trying to find from this table what is the 16th element, what is the 48th element, and I'm talking about scores, and then we do whatever Q3 is, take away Q1. In order to work that out, it's a lot easier if we have a cumulative frequency column as well. Cumulative frequency is just the sum of the frequencies up to a certain rank. So the sum up to here is straightforward, that's 5. The sum up to here, 5 plus 11 is 16. And if we keep adding 21, so that'll be 55, and lastly 64. So what this means is, of all the people surveyed, the first 5 people gave a rank of 1. The 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th up to the 16th person gave a rank of 2. From the 17th up to the 34th person gave 3, etc., etc. So let's just get a different color pen. So now the 16th person, if we go off that, the 16th person had a score, gave a score of 2. So Q1 in this case would be the number 2. The 48th person, well, that will be in this column here, because this column here is up to the 34th. The 35th up to the 55th, which will include 48, is a 4. So Q3 in this case was 4. So our interquartile range, 4 take away 2, is equal to 2. A little bit of math there, of course. There is a way that you can do that on your calculator, and I'll show you at another time. The standard deviation, actually, we might as well do it. Might as well show you, because the only way we can do standard deviation is to enter that data into the calculator. So we'll go into stats mode. Actually, I'll clear out of that and go back into stats mode. Option 1, our frequency table should still be there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do it the long way. 5, 11, 18, 21, and 9. Okay. Keep an eye on this. We're going to hit AC. We're going to firstly go Shift 1, 4, and 3, and that will give us a standard deviation. So the answer to part C is 1.14 or 1.1. Not sure, you know, there's no... Oops. Standard deviation is 1. What do we say? 1.1. Okay, on to question 5. Year 12 R class receives their results for major work. Calculate the mean, the standard deviation, remove the outlier, and calculate the mean and the standard deviation. So, quickly talk about outliers. If we look at the data here, there is the bulk of the data looks in this vicinity, and the outlier is this one score that looks like it's at least 2 decades away. Excuse me. So you're just going to enter this data into your table and enter this data in and get your mean and standard deviation. Now, to enter classes in, remember you need to type in a class center to work out the value of a class center. It's simply the average of the 2 endpoints. So here, if we were to find the average, 20 plus 29 is 49, divided by 2 is 24.5. It's nice when the classes are similar in this nature, because your class centers are going to be 34.5, 44.5, 54.5, etc., etc. So if we bring up the Casio calculator now, go into our stats mode, enter your class centers in, back up to the top and go across and enter in your frequencies. Now just remember, 30 to 39 had a frequency of 0. It still must be entered in. Okay, so we've got the data in there. Shift 142. So for part A, we've got an average of 73.4. So I'll just write that up here. Grab my pen again. X 73.4, and our standard deviation. Shift 143, 16.3. Now, before we do this next bit, we're going to remove the outlier and do the same thing again. What that's going to do by getting rid of this score, the average will probably increase, because this outlier is dragging that average down. And that 73 is currently in this position, but I'm sort of suggesting it's going to go up into the high 70s, maybe even close to 80 if we do this. Also, remember, standard deviation is a measure of spread or range of the data. Now, because there's an outlier in here, the standard deviation will get smaller when we take that away. If we take away that outlier, the data will, I guess, shrink in its range. Instead of being all of this, it's going to just be this bit here. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so instead of starting at the 24.5, now this time, because there's nothing in between, I'm going to skip over the 30 because there's 0 there, and we're going to start at the 44.5. across to the frequencies. We're starting at 2. Enter out. Okay, I'll just bring it across to here. Shift 1, 4, 2. Now our average has increased up to 74.5. Sorry, 74.8. And the standard deviation. Shift 1, 4, 3 has reduced to 14.4 as expected. On to question number 6. The data shows the age of students in an MBA course. Show that there is an outlier. Calculate the standard deviation. Okay, the formula to work out if something is an outlier, let's imagine that we've got, in this case, the smallest number here is 17. So I'm just going to put 15 here. Just drop a number line. 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. You'll see why I'm doing this in a second. I'll just put 55 here. Now if we look at the data, the smallest is 17 and the highest is 53. But the 53, if you do a quick scan over the data, the next highest score is 34. So most of the data is in this zone from 17 up to 34. Then you've got the 53, which if we put that in here, it's approximately here. So definitely this 53 is a candidate for an outlier. To test for an outlier, what you're looking for, there is a formula which gives you, if you type in all your numbers into this formula, it will give you an upper limit. I'm just going to pretend it's here somewhere. Any scores over that limit, you can say definitely an outlier. But if you find this upper limit and the score is less than that, you'll say it's not an outlier. It should be included in the data. Now, the formula for this upper limit is anything that's above the third quartile, Q3, plus 1.5 times the interquartile range. So a little bit of math that we have to do. We have to work out what Q3 is, work out what the interquartile range is, so we'll have to work out what Q1 is as well, do some math, get a number, and then we can determine whether this is or isn't. It also says here, calculate the standard deviation with the outlier and without the outlier. What I'm going to do, oops, whoa. In order to work this out, we have to put the numbers in order. So 17, I'll just pause the video. Okay, so I've written out those numbers in order, ran out of room, I had to go down a bit, but you get the general idea. There are 15 scores, which means that's an odd number, so there will be one in the middle, and it will be the 8th score. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this here, number 25, I'll get my red pen. 25 is Q2, it's the middle score, and it's broken. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 above and 7 below. Q1 will be the middle of this bottom half, and that there is the 20, and you can see the 20 breaks the bottom half into half again. So that is our Q1. If we do the same up here, look for the middle score. There's our middle score. It's broken the top half in half, so that is our Q3. So Q1 equals 20, Q3 equals 30. Now the interquartile range is Q3, take away Q1, nice round number of 10. So if we come and work out this upper limit, I'll call it UL, it's Q3, which is 30, plus 1.5 times the interquartile range. Now 1.5 times 10 is 15, plus 30 is 45. This is our upper limit. Wasn't too far away up here on my drawing. So anything above 45 for this data set, we can count as an outlier, which the 53 definitely is. So question A, show that there is an outlier. You had to work out this upper limit using these calculations, and you might go on to make a statement. 53 is an outlier because it is above this upper limit of 45. I'll leave it up to you to type in part B with the outlier and without the outlier. So you're just typing the data in with 53 and then take 53 away. On to the last question. Jane recorded number of crocodile sightings each week in a region of the Northern Territory over several weeks. She came up with this. You wouldn't like to be there when there were 17 crocodiles? Maybe if you're a tourist. What was the mean number of crocodiles sighted per week? So we're just typing the numbers in and getting the mean, find the standard deviation, and calculate the variance. Remember, variance is the standard deviation squared. So question 7, interestingly enough, is one of the easier questions in the whole set. I hope that's shone some light, especially for these questions here, finding Q3, Q1, etc. And just make sure that you practice the stats mode on your calculator. If you have any questions, make sure you can add them, either email me directly or ask a question on the Google Classroom, and I'll try to make a video to help you guys out. Okay, see you next time.